Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
All right, hold on. Should be fixed now. Let's start that over. All right, we should be good now. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to the Rise of Grind Morning Show. Apologize for a few glitches today. Can't tell. I feel like crap today. Not feeling good. Anyway, I was waiting for Riley, and I don't think he's going to join us today. So it's just going to be solo. And I do want to get into Jared Goff and some of the things that he said. We're going to review Carson Anderson. I did pull up an article from about 10 years ago talking about this very thing. You guys know how I feel about the booth. I think it's a big change, and I don't like it personally. This isn't high school. This isn't college. I don't care what people do in high school and college. It's the NFL. And we're going to talk about how many coaches are actually up in the booth versus how many are not. There's not definitive stats that will tell us. So there's not a booth count, if you will, like there is for reporters. They don't even count the coaches when they're up there. So there's not really a full count, is like I said, if the coaches are up in the box or not. What we do have is an article from 10 years ago that talks about this very thing and the success rates between the coaches on the field and off the field. What I thought was interesting when I had AI try to look into it is it only pulled down about 6 coaches based on, and it's weird how it went through and dug this information out. It scanned like post-game press conferences and all of the different articles that have been written throughout the year to try to find where someone said whether or not that the coaches were going to be in the booth or not. Came up with 6 coaches. Only 6 coaches that were going to be in the booth this year. John Morton was listed as one of them. Let me pull this up. So when I had to do a scan yesterday, because I was highly interested, right? How many coaches are actually going to be up there? What's the success rate? Are there definitive stats? It's kind of hard to go through, right? It's kind of hard to figure all that out. What you can do is you can go through and you could talk to the beat writers. You could reach out to the teams directly and find out whether or not they're up in the booth and hopefully get your answer that way. Only 6 NFL teams in 2025 have both their offensive and defensive coordinators or one or the other up in the box. It listed the Buffalo Bills, the Seattle Seahawks, the Houston Texans, the Minnesota Vikings, the Atlanta Falcons, the Tennessee Titans, and then, the 7th team, the Detroit Lions. When I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, Falcons aren't successful. Titans aren't successful. Houston Texans are good. Seattle Seahawks haven't been successful. The Vikings had a good year last year. The Buffalo Bills have been consistent. There's one team that's been consistent. One. Out of all those teams. So, I mean, I outside of the Texans defense, the Vikings defense, you've got 3 out of 32 teams that have something consistent happening for their team. So my take, right? My opinion, I don't like it. I just don't. I think it's too much change. I think it's too much change on a team that already has too much change going on. Jared Goff feels differently. He thinks it's foolish to think that it's a problem to have these guys up in the booth. If he doesn't feel like he's going to be impacted, great. Then we better win a lot of football games. And the offense better be clicking. Here's my biggest argument as to why I do not like the coach up in the box. Last year, and we've gone through this a little bit before in weeks past. Last year, what was the biggest benefit that Jared Goff had? Matter of fact, what is the biggest benefit that any offense has by having your coach on the sideline? Immediate communication. Now, I heard, or I seen people on Twitter yesterday that were arguing with me about this, saying, well, Dan Campbell has a headset. He can talk to whoever he wants, and John Morton has a headset. He can talk to Goff. Wrong. Wrong. John Morton has up until the 15-second mark of the play clock to be in Jared Goff's ear. During timeouts, you can't be in his ear. That is why they go to the sideline. Why else would Jared Goff go to the sideline? To have a conversation. Well, why wouldn't he just stay out there with the guys if he's in his ear? He has to go to the sideline to talk to Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's not in his ear. It's just the offensive coordinator. Communication to me is huge. If you're in game and you're struggling with things and you go to the sideline, after a series, you have an opportunity to do what? Ben Johnson walks over to the bench and discusses whatever he wants with whatever positional group he feels needs it. Hey, JMO, did you see that DB sold out on your first move, man? You had him. Offensive line. You can go tell them what they're doing wrong or right. Same thing with Jared Goff, the tight ends, the running backs, you name it. It's not so much just about plays and scheme. It's also about getting your guys riled up, right? Getting them in the game, making them, understand a few things maybe they're doing right or wrong, or it's just getting these guys pumped up, man. That's part of it. It's having the ability to discuss things. And you know what? If you have to throw the entire scheme out the window and you have to scrap something and you have to write it up, how are you going to do that from upstairs? You can't. Is John Morton going to walk down to the sideline halfway through the game? Nope, he's not. By the time he makes it all the way from there down to the field, that's like a 4-minute walk. I've done it a few times. It's a long walk. You could be back on the field. So the only thing that you can do is what the Lions are doing. David Shaw will be in the ear of John Morton. Vice versa. David Shaw is the one that will be communicating to the guys on the sideline. How do I know this? I asked Justin Rogers yesterday. I put it in my quote on Twitter yesterday. When I asked Justin Rogers if he would ask a question at the next time that they have an opportunity at a presser. Then I said, hey, I have a question, wondering if you'd be willing to ask it at the next presser. I'm a bit concerned about Morton in the box. Now, I have heard them discuss this a little bit, and I think it was Justin that did ask the question at one of the pressers, but I didn't hear a full answer. I definitely didn't hear anything about David Shaw. Doesn't mean that it wasn't said. I just didn't hear it. My question was, with Morton working from the booth, how will the in-game communication flow from him to Goff, between coaches on the headsets and to the players on the sideline? And how will they address the offense between series if adjustments are needed, given he can't simply walk over for the quick bench meetings that this staff has relied on the past 4 years? Which, by the way, I know I said this in the last couple of years. I know I said this in the last couple of seasons, where when I'm at the games and I'm seeing all the activity on the sideline, I pay a lot of attention to the sideline, and you see all the coaches, kind of huddling up with their players, right? They go down, you've seen the images, right? They got the surface out and everyone's kind of in a huddle and they're all looking at something. That happens a lot on the sideline. The good coaches will do it. The bad coaches won't talk to anybody, in my opinion. The coaches that just stay in their bubble, that aren't getting these guys into a huddle talking about stuff, that's a problem. Look, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that the Lions can't have a successful offense. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, in the very beginning, well, you didn't play your guys in preseason, so you didn't really practice it. Yeah, you did it with the other guys. Your third, fourth stringers, your second stringers, but you didn't do it with the number one offense. I don't know how or if they simulated this at all during practice. I didn't see Johnny up in a sky track. I didn't see him on top of the roof. Now, when they go inside Allen Park, who knows what they're doing in there? I have no clue. Media's not in there either. So I'm not saying that they can't have a successful offense. I'm just saying that when times are tough and things aren't going well, you really thrive upon communication. That's the biggest part to play in this game, is communication. Clearly, one of the biggest things that Dan Campbell mentioned this weekend after the game was what? MAs. Missed assignments and communication. That's why I don't like it with him in the booth. That's why. I think that when you break everything up, like, that just happened to the Lions, you have, two different, coordinators, offense, defense, 12 new assistants or whatever the final number ended up being. That's a lot of change as it is. And when you're really only together, call it training camp. Yeah, you had some rookie OTAs, some mini camps, some other things that happen. That's not a lot of time, right? And not all the vets are there because they don't have to be there. So it's just not a lot of time. You really have, 3 weeks in summer? 3 weeks. 3.5 hours, 5 days a week. That's not a lot of time. You're telling me you're going to master this in under 100 hours? Yeah, you have, some meeting time, right? You're inside. Maybe it's 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. However much time you're putting in after. It's just not a lot of time. But these guys, they are the pros pro, right? They are the best at what they do. If anyone can learn it fast, it's them. But now it's the transition and the execution of being able to transition to the game field in game with 70,000 screaming fans, right? And all the commotion going on, cameras flying around, refs running around. It's a lot. And now you have to be able to communicate effectively and get these plays called in. But what I think the biggest thing that you miss is being able to look to your sideline and look at your coach. Sometimes it's the nonverbal cues that mean the most. Didn't Dan just say that recently? It's something I talk about a lot too, especially with the DB room. Those guys have to know each other so well that when they look at each other and it's just a simple wink, a nod, a head movement, a hand motion, a stance, they know what's coming next. We can agree, we can disagree. It's okay. That's what opinions are all about. It's my opinion. I hope the Lions get it figured out quickly. But now I want to pull in this article real quick. Let's just run through it. And let's see what it says. I'm interested to see what this thing says. This was printed back on November 23, 2016. By Thomas George of SB Nation. Well, clearly somebody was thinking about it at some point, and you know what? There might be other articles since then. I just didn't find any. Here's what it talks about. Upstairs or downstairs. It says, is the most effective offensive play calling produced high up from the coaching box or down low from the sideline? You know, let's bring it in. Let me bring this in. How's your Wednesday today? You guys got big plans? What's everyone doing on a Wednesday? It's the proverbial hump day, right? Middle of the week, work week. Ready to get to Friday, get your weekend going. I think the biggest question for everybody today is probably, what are you going to have for lunch, right? That's probably the hardest question to answer every day. What am I going to eat today? I know that is the most defining question around this house. What are we going to eat today? It's hard when someone has to go gluten-free. It changes everything. And you try to fall in line with it. It's tough. But you do what you can do, right? All right, let's bring this in here. You guys can read along with me. Maureen says, lunch, I still need breakfast. I hear you. Like, my breakfast is my coffee cup, man. I do intermittent fasting every day till about noon. Okay, so here we go. Let's get in here. Upstairs or downstairs? Let me blow that up a little bit. There we go. Is the most effective play calling produced high up from the coaching box or down low from the sideline? Now, varied philosophies across the league this season illustrated, remember this was back in 2016, illustrated that no one has a definitive answer, but everyone has a preference. Some play callers insist being upstairs gives them a more complete view. That part I do get. You do get to see everything, but you're also high up. They like working in silence, away from the often maddening confusion on the sidelines. Okay, if you're an easily distracted individual, maybe you got the right? You got the ADD or something going on, and you just can't focus. All right, I get it. Right? I got people close to me that have dealt with ADD. I think I have a version of it. There's some days I can't focus on anything. So I get that. I understand. If you can't work in loud environments, fast-paced, moving environments, well, maybe football's not for you. I don't know. Those who work from sideline having direct, here we go, look at that, eye-to-eye contact with their quarterback and with other offensive players gives them a better play call feel. It adds personality to their calls. Or right here, by the way. Some NFL general managers have told me they prefer their offensive coordinators to work from upstairs, but acquiesce to their offensive coordinators' desire to be on the field. They say too many of them who work from the sidelines want to be on camera, want to be recognized in TV coverage when their offense works. I don't know. Is that the offensive coordinator's decision? Do they get to tell the TV crew, hey, when we do something great, put me on camera? I don't think so. They believe these coordinators see this approach as a way to increase their stature and visibility to enhance their chances of head coaching opportunities. I don't know about all that. I think you have to be good at what you do. I don't think you looking good on camera has anything to do with it. Other general managers say that they don't care whether their play caller is upstairs or downstairs, as long as the offense sings. There we go. See that? I don't care either. As long as that offense is humming, but I still have my personal things that, like this article's already said, I mean, we're in lockstep. I love that personal vision. I love being able to look at somebody and you just know that's the right call. You're right there. You can tell, hey, these guys are huffing and puffing right now. Maybe I shouldn't put them in pass pro. Maybe we should just run the ball real quick. Hey, these guys are really huffing and puffing. Maybe we shouldn't dink and dunk this thing all over the field. Maybe we should try to get out like Penei Sewell says, hey, we don't need to do this. We can just be one playing out. How are you going to see that or notice that from upstairs? How are you going to see and notice that from? You're not. The league's top scoring offenses thus far illustrates a divide. The Atlanta Falcons, remember, this is back in 2016, own the number one scoring offense, 32 points per game. Their play caller, Kyle Shanahan, works upstairs. The San Diego Chargers, the number two at 29.2. Their play caller, offensive coordinator, Ken Wisenhunt, works from the sideline. Well, 2.8 points is not that big of a divide for me to say, yep, you need to be upstairs. Less than a field goal? Come on. Wisenhunt's view from upstairs or downstairs is unique. Here's what he said. Quote, we won the Super Bowl with Pittsburgh in 2006 with me calling it from the box. And we lost one in Arizona in 2009 with me calling it from the sideline. So since I've done both, I see the pluses and minuses to both. There isn't any question that you see more of the field from upstairs. But there isn't any question that you are more detached. That's a big word. Detached. The thing that I like to do the most now being on the sideline is I can see, feel, hear, Ladies and gentlemen, is that not what football is all about? If you just had to listen to football, which some of you old heads that are in here that are, probably more than 70 years old, that's all you could do way back in the day, is you listened, like my grandfather did, to that little gray radio sitting next to your chair, the calls of the game. And back then, man, you probably, you had an imagination of what was going on the field. Today, you've got 8K, 120-inch TVs on your wall. You're in the game. Hell, some of you probably have an Oculus on, and you're actually in the damn game. But your offensive coordinator is up in the box, detached, where he can see, but he can't feel and he can't hear. He goes on to say, quote, I can interact directly with the quarterback. See the look on his face when we are talking plays and strategy. That's a big thing. I've changed plays. I've changed the attack based on that during games. So am I wrong? Am I really wrong for having my opinion? This is exactly why. This is what I believe in too, and he's done it both ways, that I feel the in-game personal connection is more important than anything. It's the understanding of what your team is at that moment. It's not the understanding of what your team is in practice. It's what's happening in the game today, right now, this second. Do I believe that this team can go out and execute this play at this point of the game? Just a simple look on their face might give you that answer. Kyle Shanahan said that his first year calling plays upstairs in the coach's box, he has embraced the change. Remember, back in 2016. You weren't allowed to talk to the quarterback at length before up there, and this was the first year for that. You had to talk to someone else who then got the play to the quarterback. That cost you 4 seconds. Once the rule changed, I wanted to try it out. I found it to be more relaxing. You get to gather your thoughts, study, see what happens more clearly, prepare better, spread out your work on the sidelines. You see pictures. You are talking, distracted. There are less distractions up there. Okay? I see your point too. Now, he added, if you go from the coach's box to the field for the first time, that's a huge difference. But from the field up there, the transition is easier. You're going from hectic to calm, and the other way around is much more of a challenge. I still get to talk to the quarterback. We'll get on the headset when he's on the sideline, and I'll say, hey, let's look at play number 28. Here is the next series going out. Make sense? He gives me the feedback. I don't think you miss anything in communication there. Okay, I get all that. I understand this. You get up to the 15-second mark. When the 15-second mark hits on the play clock, your headset goes dead. That is the way that I understand it. And what has been told to me about how your offensive coordinator can now communicate with your quarterback. And more importantly, I'll go back to what I said earlier, that David Shaw is the one that is going to be on the sideline with Morton in his ear, giving him direction. And then David Shaw has to go communicate that to everybody up and down the sideline. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Have you ever played the game telephone? What happens when you get to that 9th or 10th individual, right? Or even that 4th or 5th individual. Heck, it might even be the 2nd or 3rd individual. What you said totally changed. The meaning, the way you said it, the energy behind it, totally gone. The Dallas Cowboys, who own the NFL's first record, this is back in 2016, who ranked 3rd in scoring offense along with the New Orleans Saints, each averaged 28.5 points per game, features the offensive coordinator, old Scott Linehan, on the sidelines back when Dak Prescott was a rookie. When Dallas plays Washington on Thanksgiving Day, scrutinize the working relationship between Linehan and I don't know what they're talking about there. Scott says there's no question that Scott being right there on the sideline with Dak, and especially with Dak being a rookie, makes a difference for us. Scott believed in Dak all along. He's a big reason we drafted Dak. Both being right there on the sidelines clicks for us. Linehan in the 2005 season as a Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator for then coach Nick Saban called the first 10 Dolphins games upstairs in the coach's box and the final 6 downstairs on the sideline. He said moving down helped him to have direct line to Saban and gain Saban's direct input on strategy. Linehan said that he learned plenty as a coach watching Saban work and massage the overall team. That's kind of a goofy statement. So again, I think that a lot of us understand how often or how much Dan Campbell is involved with this team. So what happens when now you don't have exactly what they're talking about here? Again, moving down helped him to have a direct line to Saban and gain Saban's direct input on strategy. Linehan said that he learned plenty as a coach watching Saban work and massage the overall team. Morton's not going to have that. This is his first year with the team. He doesn't understand everything about Dan Campbell. Yeah, they have a relationship, a past relationship. This is a different team than it was back in 2021. Linehan said that the NFL is such a fast game. The time between each series is so critical. During our timeouts here, I have the starting quarterback sit to my right and the backup sits to my left. We get great communication from upstairs, and the communication is constant. That's a settling thing for a quarterback. Let me say that again. That's a settling thing for a quarterback. Maybe it's a better thing for a young quarterback. It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rockhound Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning. All right. I'm not going to beat this one to death this morning. I think you guys get the point. To each their own. All right? Whatever you do well, you're going to do well. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to make excuses if this offense doesn't get rolling. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make excuses and say, hey, you know what? It's all because John Morton's up in the box. I'm not going to go there. These are professionals. They're the best at what they do in the entire world. If they can't figure it out, then they're going to have to figure out what the problem is. But I will tell you definitively, it is not going to be the new offensive coordinator or the loss of a coordinator is not going to be the issue here. It's going to be the communication and then the execution. It's going to be the play calling and then the execution. It's going to be new guys in new places or losing a guy like Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow was the biggest reason why we lost this game this weekend, in my opinion. Not having him. How instrumental. You can get over some of these things. If you had Frank Ragnow in the game, as we've heard how instrumental he was to coordinating everything for this offense, the offensive line, keeping everybody in the right position, making all of the calls, all the pre-snap reads. So important. And I'm not saying that Graham Glasgow can't make the same reads, but he's not the same player. He's not going to be able to get to that second level as quick as Frank. He doesn't have the same power and strength as Frank. But not having him, it hurts this whole transition even more with Morton going up to the box and limited amount of communication now with your quarterback. It's just my opinion. You are entitled to yours, and that's okay. Yeah, Decker didn't have a good game either. I mean, you know, the numbers tell us part of it, right? They do. They tell us part of it. Man, that film did not look great. It did not look great at all. There were some plays here or there, but hopefully they get it figured out this weekend. Like this is a game they can't drop. They cannot drop this game. This is must win. Must win. Not just because it's Ben. It's partially that. I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of that. But it's also because it's a divisional game. And that means a lot. Let's get into what Jared Goff said. I do want to run through that. We got over 100 people in. There's only about 42 likes. It's 8:40. We got to get that up if you guys want ads off. Remember, I'm not going to remind you every day. The mods will. But if you want ads off, let's get the likes out. Get that thumb tapping. Let's get into Jared Goff, man. Let's hear what he had to say. Coming by way of Carson Anderson on 97 won the ticket.
It's time to go inside the huddle with Lions quarterback Jared Goff. Brought to you by Ford, built for America.
Jared, it is great to have you back for another year. Thanks for being with us here on 97 Won the Ticket. And now that you've had a chance to digest that opener, watch the film, what is your overall takeaway?
Yeah, similar to what I said after, just not even close to good enough, certainly for us offensively. And got a ton of things to work on and improve on. And the good news is it's week one. We got time to fix it, but it's got to happen in a hurry. And there will certainly be some urgency from all of us to get those things fixed. And it starts with me.
Yeah, you said, I think right after the game, you said you were looking forward to leading the team this week after the loss. What did you feel that you need? What do you feel that needs to be addressed first and foremost? And did that kind of start even on the flight home, or do you let's give it a rest? We'll tackle it on Monday.
Yeah, what needs to be addressed? I think it's hard to put your finger on one thing. I just think there needs to be a little bit of urgency of intensity and improvement. And Dan said it. We just have to find a way to get better this week and improve this week, and things will be just all right.
One of the core strengths of this team the last few years is the ability to respond. You guys haven't lost back-to-back games in forever. There always seems to be a great resilience, but every team's different. Are you interested, confident in this particular version of the Lions and the ability to respond?
Am I interested or confident?
Are you confident in this team's ability?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I very. I mean, it's a lot of the same guys, and we've got a resilient group, dude. I mean, we've been through a lot as a group, and one loss on the road is not going to send us into the gutter by any means. And I think the important thing is a loss is a loss. Those happen, but the important thing is to focus on what needs to be fixed, what needs to be improved, what needs to be communicated better, and fix those things, and then the wins will come.
From your perspective, what did the Packers do to make it tough to get the ball downfield?
They always do a good job of playing kind of deep to short, I would say, in the secondary. They do a good job with their depth at safety. I think they've got two really good safeties. Obviously, McKinney gets a lot of the credit. But the other guy, 33, does a great job too, and being smart, pattern matching, doing all the things that they're supposed to do from a deep to short perspective, and then they pass rush well. When they pass rush well, it takes some time for receivers to run downfield. So when they're able to pass rush, it takes some of that away.
visually watching the game, it kind of looked like you had less room to work with in the pocket, almost like you needed to take a couple of steps backward. Is that accurate? Was it more smushed coming at you, or was I having a fever dream?
I think every game's different. I think there's times in my career where it's been like that. There's times in my career where it hasn't been like that. I mean, this game in particular, yeah, there were some messy pockets, but there were also some great pockets. And so I think it's hard to say the whole game was one or the other.
So during the game, you had a 4th and 2 conversion to Jamison Williams. Tony Romo said on the broadcast that he thought Williams was your 5th read. I know you read your progressions and get down. I didn't know if he was the 5th read, but take us through that play and where JMO fell in the progressions for you.
I came all the way back to him. I don't believe he was the 5th read. I think he would have been more towards the front of those reads, but I progressed through and got to him nicely there and converted. And I think we did a good job converting in some of those situations. Our 3rd down percentage was low, but our 4th down percentage was high. So whenever we're able to convert on any of those, we feel pretty good.
So the new offensive coordinator, John Morton, there's reaction and then there's overreaction. And yesterday we dealt with callers that say, that's the coordinator change. That was what the problem was. But is this just a work in progress when you break in a new coordinator? Is this typical, or is everything going to be fine and everybody just needs to relax?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, it's impossible to try to compare apples to apples with, previous coaches or anything like that. Like it's a completely new thing that we're doing with him. Not a new system, but a new communication, and it's a new human. So there's different things going on. And I think back to in 2022 when Ben was in his first year and we went, I believe we were 1-6 that year to start the year. Not by any means saying that's where we're headed, but I think there were growing pains there too offensively. And then we got into a good rhythm, halfway through the year. Certainly we want to get in that rhythm this week, though. We don't want to wait till week 6 or 7 to find that out. But I think that's natural when there's a new coordinator, when there's a new guy calling plays. He's getting used to us still. We're getting used to him still. And some of that progression is still happening. But it's all moving in the right direction, and it's all stuff I'm optimistic about. And by no means am I worried about any of it.
Okay. Does it matter at all that he's in the booth or on the field? We got that call yesterday. And does it matter to you at all?
No.
Okay.
I think that's foolish.
Two incredible catches in the game. One turned in by St. Brown on the sideline. It was amazing. And then I can't believe it was outdone, but it was by Isaac Tesla on that touchdown play at the end of the game. Can you kind of take me through what it was like for you on the field to experience that, and what was it like for you in real time?
Yeah, I wish it was a more competitive game at that point, so I could have been a little bit more excited about it. But yeah, after watching it on tape, one of the most incredible catches I've ever been on the other end of, certainly. And for that to be his first career catch and for it to happen like that is pretty cool for him, for a memory. Ultimately, it was in a moment of the game where there wasn't much celebrating going on. But, happy for him to get that kind of monkey off his back, get that first catch as well as the first touchdown, and hopefully get him more involved as we go.
Did you think it was a touchdown when you first threw it?
No. I knew he caught it. I just didn't think he got his feet down. And then I saw the replay on the screen. I was like, holy smokes, he did it.
Wow. Okay, so obviously moving forward, you mentioned all the things that need to get addressed. I don't know if you watched the Monday night game, saw the Bears, saw Ben Johnson. What do you make of this matchup, given what you've seen of yourself and of them?
Yeah, I watched last night, and I think anytime you're able to get like a live scouting is good. Monday night, it's the only thing on, and got to see some of that, and obviously watching some more this morning. And yeah, they're a good team, man. They've always been a good team, though, and I think they've been at the bottom end of our division the last couple of years. But I don't think that's a product of them being a bad team. I think our division's been pretty dang good. So they're a good team. They're a good defense, certainly. We got our hands full, and Dennis Allen's a great coach.
How do you watch the Monday night game? Is this when you watch with teammates, or is it just you with the wife and the kid and a very needy dog? How does it work?
Just me and Kristen. It was 8:15 start, so baby girl was asleep.
Very, very, very smart. Did you see anything different from the defense this time around than what you've seen in the past from the Bears?
Well, certainly they've got a different coach, whole different staff, and some different personnel. So yeah, certainly some differences, and we'll take it as we go this week. But like I said, I obviously have a lot of respect for Ben and the the way he coached us, and I know he'll have those guys ready. And then I have a lot of respect for Dennis Allen and the way he's coached the Saints over the years. He'll have the defense ready.
One of the great privileges we have is you can answer some questions that get asked us. We got questions yesterday about play calling. I think losing fans like to complain about play calling. How would you respond to those questions about the play calling?
What are the questions?
Oh, the ball didn't get downfield, predictable. These are the things that get thrown at us.
Yeah, I mean, how would I respond? I mean, how much time you got? I think the downfield thing. Like, we called the plays downfield, they covered them, and so I just checked it down to our backs. And I don't think that's any different than we had played certain games in the past. Certainly we call those shots. If they're not open, I check it down. If they are open, I'd like to think I'd take those chances. And so we got to find a way to get those open more often. Certainly, I guess I think that's maybe partially answers it, but. We'll find those ways and figure it out. We've got a pretty fast guy in Jameson Williams who can get down there and like to throw it to him downfield, as well as a handful of other guys. So as we go, those shots will come, and we'll continue to find them.
Lastly, Jerry, did you have any flashbacks when you're watching the play where Branch has the interception, Hutchinson gets called for blocking Jordan Love, and all we could think about is, hey, how about the playoff game where Jared got smoked? And there was no flag on that, but they're going to flag Hutchinson for hitting Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think they probably missed that call. I try not to have flashbacks to that game as much as possible. So thanks for doing that here. But no, that was a hell of a play by Branch. I don't believe that's a penalty on Aiden. I think that as soon as the quarterback starts chasing the play, he's live. Didn't matter if we had a defensive holding, so none of it mattered, I guess. But yeah.
Jared, appreciate your time. Thanks for the insight. It is always helpful, and we will talk again next week. Good luck.
Good. I'm glad I can be helpful for you guys.
Well,
and, appreciate you having me.
So you missed that whole part then. You missed the whole part when I came back. What I said there is I said, let's break it down. And then I said, Jared Goff, I know you're listening. And I'm pretty sure you heard my take on the whole, John Morton in the box thing. So it is what it is, man. I'm just going to keep you in the corner now. No more interviews. I'm done. You think I'm foolish? That's cool. That's cool. Well, let's break it down, because what you think is foolish, Jared, which that's my quarterback, 1-6, always will be. I got to call out something that you said in this interview and then turned tail and said something different in the interview. Now, no love lost, but my job is to break it down. My perceived job is to kind of figure this out, right? That's what I try to do daily, and try to provide some good information, some wholehearted, good takes. They're not all good. Trust me. They're not all great. They're not all right. But I want to start with this. We'll get into that second part there in just a moment. The first question, kind of a weird question. Are you interested and confident in the team? Like, what does that mean? But he rephrased it, says, are you confident, right, that this team, is going to be fine? And like Jared Goff said, he says, of course he's confident. It's a resilient bunch, right? It's a resilient team, has been. But he still said that the resilience is there, but communication is huge, right? Communication is big. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that there for a moment. You said communication once after the first question. You said how important communication is. Okay. Second question. Packers made it tough. What did they do? He says secondary did a good job in the with the safeties and did some pattern matching. Hold on here. I just accidentally closed my sheet. Did some pattern matching. Then he said that they pass rushed well, not allowing the receivers to get downfield. Which I think all of us that understand football understand that there's two vital pieces to a defense that really thrive on each other. And that is your defensive line and your DBs. When they play well together, your DBs are able to hold, allowing your pass rush to get home. Well, that worked for the Packers. That did not work for the Lions. Our DBs could not hold a popsicle if they wanted to this past game. It was just melting all over their hands. Our DBs were not good. So our front couldn't get home. It wasn't because we needed another edge rusher. It wasn't because we needed somebody different. No. When our DBs do their job, which only Brian Branch really did, your defensive line will be able to impact the game a lot better. The Packers executed at both ends, right? And the front and the back, they executed at a high level. And that is why the pass rush was a little bit more difficult for Jared Goff at times. He was also asked a question about new coordinators. And the question is, is having a new coordinator, going to be a problem? And he says, no, we're going to be fine. He also says it's impossible to compare. It's not a new system, but then he used the C word again. He said, but new communication. New communication. And then the human element, he said, new things kind of going on. That's the second time he mentioned communication. But this time it was the meaning with having a new coordinator, and it's the new communication, meaning the dude's upstairs, right? The dude's up in the box. He also threw out the fact that in 2022, the Lions went 1-6 with Ben Johnson to get things started, and said that, man, he doesn't want to have to wait till week 6 or 7 to catch that rhythm. But if you do remember, when that rhythm was caught, the whole team felt it. They went 8-2 to finish that season. Nobody wanted to play us. Had we made the playoffs that year, that might have been the year we won the Super Bowl. That defense was clicking, and it wasn't anywhere near as talented as it is now today. Okay, then he gets into this question. And Jared, this is where I'm going to call you out. All love, though. It's all love. Just remember that. Does it matter that John Morton's in the booth? Very definitive answer. He laughs and he says, nope, I think that's foolish. And what he thinks that's foolish is that some of us feel that John Morton in the box is a problem. But Jared, I'm going to wind back one question before that. Is having a new coordinator going to be a problem? And you said communication. New communication is a problem. Right? That's one of the things that you have to work on is new communication. So that tells me that the new communication with John Morton up in the box is a problem. Or how about the very first question? Are you confident in this team? The first thing or third thing that you said in that answer was communication. So if I'm hearing what you're saying, it's communication. Just saying, JG. Just saying. You're more than welcome to come on this channel and tell me how wrong I am. I love it. I love it. I welcome it. Because I'm comfortable in my own skin to know that I'm wrong on things. It's okay. Like, I'm human too. I can't get everything right. I'm going to get a lot of things wrong. And I want to be wrong on this. Trust you me. I want Morton to get it figured out quickly. I'll say it again. I'm not saying that we can't have a successful offense. I'm not saying that Morton will not be successful in the box. He absolutely will be. It's just right now, I think that there is so many new and different things going on that is the other element added to this whole wrinkle. Right? It's kind of like you... Oh, this is a terrible analogy, but I'm going to use it because it just happened to me last night. You wash your clothes in the washer, right? You got the best smelling, fabric softener, right? You pull those clothes out, you put them into the dryer. They dry for, an hour, whatever it is. And you pull them out, they're still wet. That's kind of like having bad communication. Well, I thought the dryer was supposed to dry the damn clothes. And they're still wet. Well, then you put them back in and you dry them for a little bit and you pull them out. And now they're wrinkled. To me, that's like having bad communication. And it's also like saying we have a high-powered offense, man. It's the best smelling stuff. They're clean, right? They go to the dryer to get polished off a little bit. And they come out and they're wrinkled, man. We've just got to fix the wrinkles. We got to iron it out a little bit. And that's what's happening right now for the Detroit Lions. They just have to iron out all these little wrinkles. And at some point, you're going to have a nice pressed shirt to wear, and it's going to be clean. You're going to be looking good. Right? Like Dion says, if you look good, you play good, they pay good. It's the same thing. Right? Right now, you've got to look good. You got to smell good. You're going to play good. But you have to get all those things wrinkled. You got to wear a nice piece of, pressed clothing. That's the first part of the job. If you wake up every day, you don't put some boxers on or something, man. You're gonna have bad communication. You're gonna have some bad communication down there. You're gonna have some chafing going on. And it's not gonna feel good at the end of the day. We all do the same thing every day, man. We wake up, we put our pants on. We get dressed the same way. Some are just working with some pressed pants, and others, they're throwing on some wrinkly stuff. Hell, some of you are probably taking something dirty out of the hamper right now, rushing off to work. Right now, that's where I feel the Lions are. They're just scrambling a little bit. They're just not well put together today, but they will be very soon. The last part of this conversation, where he's saying the play calling, they did dial it up downfield, in the fact that they were just covered, man. They did a good job. They did a really good job. And I wanted to mention something about the matching here. The fact that, the Packers did a really good job at matching the Lions. And pattern matching is this simple. It's a tough concept, but it's this simple. It's probably one of the most sophisticated and adaptive coverage techniques in the NFL. It's not easy to do, but when it works great. It's basically a hybrid defense between a man and a zone coverage. It's kind of what I've been talking about, that I've been hoping that the Lions would go to eventually. A little bit of man, a little bit of zone on the same play. If you can cover the outside guys with man, and then you put your safeties and your nickel guy into a zone look, you're covering the middle, right? You're covering everything intermediate. You're covering downfield. You're keeping everything in front of you, and you're letting those guys battle one-on-one on the outside. But you've got their back. Hell of a defense that the Packers put on. So in pattern matching, the defenders will start in a zone look, and then they clamp down. They transition to man coverage based on the routes that the receivers are running. Instead of dropping into static zones, the defenders will read the route combination, and then they're going to match it. They're going to match it up once they've identified the pattern. It's not easy. And only the best defenses are going to run that. Let's see here. I got some Vikings in the house today. Just remember, just let people roll. Just let them say what they're going to say. I mean, the rules are simple. We just don't have F-bombs. We're not going to attack people, call people names and shit like that. So just let them roll, man. The Lions eat them up, man. I'm not worried about it. Vikings barely won the game the other night. Here's my question, right? Do the Lions have an issue? Probably in the beginning. Yes, they do. Will they get it figured out? Absolutely. Is every team going to be able to do what the Packers did on Sunday night? That is probably one of the biggest questions that fans are asking right now. If the Packers can do it, why can't every other team do it? Here's the answer. Not every team is going to be that stout on the defensive line because of how the DBs played. Not every team has the DBs that the Packers do. So if you don't have the DBs, we're going to be able to pick you apart. And when we pick you apart, then we're going to be able to set up, the play action through the run. What I think John Morton needs to do next is he needs to kind of go all in on the pass game a little bit. Don't worry about setting up the run game in the beginning. Maybe you need to put these teams on their heels. Try to get that ball downfield quickly. All right, get them to change up what they're doing in the back end, and then you can start to run underneath. And then when that opens up, then the play action works. And when the play action works, you can't stop the Lions. If the Lions can't get into play action, you're going to win the football game. It's that simple. Unless our defense doesn't allow you to score any points, which, from what we saw on Sunday, unlikely to happen right now. Unlikely that we're going to have three games this year where, no team scores a TD. And they have to settle for field goals. Do I believe that this defense can be great? I do. I think they have their own problems to work out. And I'll say this, probably the very last time that I'll say this. Play these guys in the damn preseason. Please. The Packers did. The Bears did. The Vikings did. The Chiefs did. What makes us so special? Play them in the preseason. Get them ready to go. Even if it's just a couple of series, right? You get your first series, it's like, okay, welcome back. It's NFL again. The next series is like, all right, we're settled down. Now let's go to work. And then in the next game, they get a series. And then in the next game, they get a series. You just get them a few series out of the whole preseason, man. That's it. We're not asking them to play a quarter or a half like they used to. Just get out there. Yeah, those joint practices against the Dolphins makes us special. God, we looked terrible in the game, didn't we? I was at the practices. I thought we looked great. Hell, I came back to this mic the next day, and I couldn't believe what I saw. My eyes didn't lie, but what happened in the game was a travesty. Our second and third teams were just terrible. What else do we have on the docket today? I know we're going to bring in Chris Long today. Greenlight Podcast. He's turning tail on the Lions. He said that the Green Bay Packers are going to win the division this year. And he's backing that up. All right, couple of updates. Dan Campbell's next press conference will be on the 12th. In just 2 days from now, so that'll be on Friday. As scheduled right now, anyway. Like I said, I'll bring in the Chris Long podcast. We're going to break that one down next. We already kind of covered the booth callers better than the sideline. You tell me. I want a poll. And I'm going to ask you guys right now. I should have done this earlier. Do you feel the play calling... Whoops. In the booth or from the sideline matters? Yes or no? Does it matter? We'll see what you guys feel this morning. Just remember, I think this team will be good. I think that we'll be fine. I think that they'll get it together. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I think there's just too much change right now all at once. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to, it's not all rainbows for me over here. I'm not the homer on the mic. I'm not going to be that way. I think that Dan Campbell made a mistake by not getting these guys some time in preseason. I do. I think that that's when you really start to feel good, man, when you've gotten out there and more so than just a joint practice. Those are heavily scripted, and there's not a whole lot of hitting going on, right? There's just, it's kind of hands off, if you will. All right, we have, how many likes do we have right now? It's just after 9 o'clock. 66. We didn't make it today. We didn't make it. We normally crush the likes. All right, I'll at least do this. I'm going to back it back for the last hour. I'll back them up, at least for you guys, but they won't be off. DOD in the house says Vikings 12-5, Packers 10-7, Lions 8-9, Bears 5-12. All right, DOD, let's put your money where your mouth is. All right. Rockhound Cancer Foundation could use a donation from you today. So why don't we do this? We'll bet $25 to your favorite, your favorite charity, wherever you want it to go. You put $25 in the Rockhound Cancer Foundation today, and if we lose, we'll reciprocate. We'll put the money into your charity at the end of the season. Brandy Coffee, I'm sure we'll let you guys know where you can make that donation today to the Rockhound Cancer Foundation. She always does a great job at getting those links out there for us. A little bit of NFL news. Jalen Carter. I was expecting some sort of a suspension, and he did get a suspension. He will serve a 1-game suspension for spitting on Dak, but they said already served. Because he was disqualified for participating in a single day, the suspension is considered to have been served week 1. How does that make any sense? You got ejected because of what you did. The punishment doesn't fit the crime here. If you get suspended, it should be suspended post-game after you've already committed that infraction. What happened in-game happened in-game. I think that there needs to be clear rules here. Again, when something like this happens, I think that the NFL should then take their big black pen and go to the NFLPA and say, we need to add a new rule now. If a player spits on a player, they get ejected and suspended a game after. If they do it again in season, it goes to 2 games. If they do it again, it goes to the rest of the season. Because this type of stuff right here, I don't think it's fair, right? I think that they're just making stuff up on the fly here because there isn't a definitive rule. Yes, Trace, it happened before any snaps were taken is what they said. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But did they already had a snap though? Did they not? Didn't they kick the ball off? And that's when it happened. That's when the defense and the offense lined up. At least one snap happened. He just wasn't in on the snap. I don't agree with it. But I'm glad at least, they've identified this. They're doing something about it. I think he had like a $50,000 fine or something close to that number. It was an odd number. I don't know where they come up with these numbers. They're weird. They're just weird numbers. There you go. Brandy Coffee just dropped that in the bucket for you. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. 52% believe that the Lions calling plays from the booth. Apparently, I don't know how to spell. Or the sideline doesn't matter. Now it's 50%, 50-50. And I would say that that's pretty even, right? For how the fan base feels. Is 50-50. Some believe, some don't. Some see an issue, some don't. That's the great thing about being a fan, man. Peter Van Larhoven says, I'm just sick of the double standards that continue to plague the league. I think you're talking about the penalties here or the suspensions. Yeah, when Romanowski did it several years ago, there was no suspension. Yeah, back then was different too. I think now today there's a bigger lens on these guys. I could not believe that one there. Mr. Schwab says the Philly also picked up Tank Bigsby. I can't believe that they've already, it was at the Jags, right? That the Jags shipped him off, I think, for what, a 5th and a 6th round pick or something to that nature. They didn't even give him a couple of seasons. He's out. Tank's a hard runner, man. The fact that Philly picked him up is insane. Oh, that's right, Todd. Romanowski spit directly in his mouth. Dude, that's a felony now. It's definitely a misdemeanor if you spit on someone, but if you make contact with an orifice, that it can be a felony now. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Big announcement from the Detroit Lions today. We're going to do that coming up next. It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning. All right, big announcement. If you are in the trades, plumber, electrician, carpenter, if you're in the trades, the Detroit Lions have announced a major partnership with Carhartt. The Detroit Lions announced this partnership yesterday, celebrating Detroit's hardworking spirit, America's premium workwear brand since 1889, Carhartt. And the Detroit Lions today announced a multi-year partnership to celebrate the hardworking spirit of the city of Detroit, uniting two Michigan brands deeply rooted in the local community. The partnership honors the determination and grit found on the football field and Carhartt's commitment to outfitting the hardest workers with durable gear. No, Carhartt is not a sponsor, but man, this is an awesome partnership. The partnership will engage fans throughout the season with on-site activations at Ford Field, exclusive fan experiences, and digital and social media promotions. Additionally, Carhartt will serve as a presenting sponsor for several community activations throughout the Lions season. The partnership deepens the connection to the players. The quote is, our partnership deepens our connection to the Lions' passionate and hardworking fan base and our hometown community of Detroit. Chief Brand Officer for Carhartt, Susan Henneke, also says, quote, by combining Carhartt's heritage with one of the most storied franchises in football, we're proud to create meaningful activations that celebrate our shared values of grit, determination, and hard work, whether on the field or on the job site. Here's what's going on, man. Carhartt will serve as a presenting partner for the following community initiatives: shining a light on the skilled trades in Detroit, spotlighting community leaders, celebrating hardworking employees behind the scenes at Ford Field. Skilled Trades Day. So skilled trades workers will have the opportunity to get this, purchase tickets at a discounted rate for a select Lions home game. Those who purchase the special ticket will also be celebrated with a pregame reception and honored on the video board at Ford Field, thanking them for bettering their communities through their commitment to their craft. The Detroit Lions High School Coach of the Week. Well, during the Lions home game, a high school football coach will also be recognized as the Coach of the Week, receiving a $1,000 grant from Carhartt for their football program and the community. And the opportunity to be selected as Coach of the Year. And lastly, Ford Field Employees of the Year. Carhartt will honor the annual Detroit Lions and Ford Field Employees of the Year with an on-field recognition. That's pretty cool, man. I like it. The trades it's a lost art, and there's I heard something the other day. We're like some 500,000 bodies short in just one trade. Just one trade. I don't remember which trade it was. 500. There's going to be a need for millions of new jobs in the trades because of the retiring, the retirement factor. You can make really good money in the trades, man. I know plenty of people that make north of six figures. It's not a bad place to be. You don't have to go spend, a couple $100,000 on college. You can get all of your training through the company. You take all your classes, you do your apprenticeship, get into the trades, man. If college is not for you, hey, there's plenty of opportunity to make some good money in the trades. That's what Detroit's all about, man. Hardworking, blue collar, bring your lunch pail to work kind of guys. That's what this team's all about. Get a couple other things here. All right, week one for your NFC North report. Week one obviously was shaken up a little bit. Just a little bit. Packers look good. And from what I understand, and what we're going to hear here shortly from Chris Long, is Gutekunst feels, the Packers GM, that the Packers are ready to win it now. That's why they brought in Micah Parsons. They feel that they're ready. Jordan Love looked good. He looked good against a defense that was not playing very well, especially in the back end, in the secondary. They did not look good. Packers and Lions, obviously this game had a lot of hype going into it. The Packers capitalized. Bears and Vikings on Monday night. Hell of a game, man. J.J. McCarthy leads a fourth quarter comeback. But I will point out again, the lack of throwing by J.J. McCarthy, but then also the pinpoint throws that he did make at times look good. We'll see how the season trends for J.J. McCarthy up north in Minnesota. I think he was able to take advantage of a Bears team that it probably just was not coached very well that night. It didn't look like the Bears had a good plan. And we know Caleb Williams just completely imploded after the first quarter. And that Vikings defense, man, when it stiffened up, it stiffened up. And obviously, Caleb Williams couldn't do much about it. The Packers did look really good. They showed why most of the pundits have them winning the division. The offense has been together now for a few seasons with just a few additions and small, limited turnover on the offensive line. No one really expected the Packers to be in the situation that they are in right now, but they look like they've got the answer. For the Detroit Lions, Aiden Hutchinson was a complete non-factor, 0 stats. And for those of you that are hollering, get an edge, get an edge, get an edge, well, who are you replacing after Sunday afternoon? If the stats tell you anything, it would have been Aiden. Couldn't do anything. Nothing. Didn't win one-on-ones. Didn't win a one and a chip, and definitely didn't win a double team. On the other side of the edge, Marcus Davenport registered a couple of stuffs, had some good stops. was effective in the run game. The Packers did not have a running back that ran for more than 65 yards in the game. So they at least did that well. Without the back end, without the secondary clicking, it's going to be a long season for the defensive line. Do we have a defensive line that can be extremely effective? Yes, it's the same defensive line that we had last season. It's a little nerve-wracking that the Lions are letting go some players that we felt last season had played fairly well, especially in spot starts when there was a ton of injuries. Just yesterday, the Lions let go Anthony Pittman. They brought in this guy by the name of Monty Rice. Now, I didn't get a chance to do a video yesterday on Mr. Rice. I wanted to. I just didn't know where to go with it. So I wanted to do some research on him, at least at first, and see what he's all about. Releasing Pittman, bringing in Rice, I think was a good move. When you look at what he brings to the table, he's a very physical linebacker. He has starting experience in the NFL. Now, adding a linebacker with real NFL chops is what they did. I mean, this guy's a former third-round pick out of Georgia. He started in games in 3 different seasons. He's racked up over 120 career tackles. He's built a reputation as a physical and an instinctive run defender who can also be a 4-phase special teams weapon. And that's what he's going to be for the Lions, I think, right away. He's played in playoff games. He's battled in the trenches of the AFC South, and now he's bringing that toughness and versatility to Detroit. Again, drafted in the 3rd round, 92nd overall by the Tennessee Titans in 2021. I think a lot of these guys in 2020 and 2021 really, I think they had a rough go. A lot of them had a rough go in the NFL. I hate to use COVID as a crutch, but when you're not able to practice, when you're only able to be on, Zoom meetings, and that did not bode well for these guys coming into the league in 2021 or even 2022. And he was one of them. When he's utilized right, the guy can play at a high level. His resume shows a player who stepped, into starting roles when called upon. He produced at a high level against the run. He contributed consistently on special teams. His skill set is quickly diagnosing plays. He's got good gap discipline. He's a sure tackler. I think he fits the defensive identity under Calvin Shepard and Dan Campbell to a T. It doesn't mean that he's going to stick around all season, but I do believe he is an upgrade for what the Lions are looking for on special teams. In 2021, his rookie impact was fairly decent. I mean, he played in 10 games. He had 4 starts. He had 36 tackles, fumble recovery, and then he had a breakout moment in Week 12 against the New England Patriots. He racked up 11 tackles. He showed his sideline-to-sideline range, and then bang, Achilles injury, done for the year. 2022, he had high-end production, fully healthy. After the Achilles injury, he appeared in 13 games with 6 starts. He recorded a career-best 66 tackles, 4 TFLs, 1 quarterback hit, 1 forced fumble. He was graded very well in the run game. He was a steady presence in the middle of the Tennessee defense. And he stepped in seamlessly when injuries started to hit the starting lineup. And then in 2023 for the Titans, he played through injury. He had a groin injury very early that limited Rice to 12 games. But he still tallied 26 tackles. He had a TFL and a quarterback hit. He also logged a significant amount of special team snaps. And then 2024, depth in special teams. Rice split time between Tennessee and New England. Appeared in 3 games, 1 start, recorded 1 assisted tackle. His role was primarily on special teams, where he's been a reliable 4-phase contributor. Is he going to, be an impact starter on, for this linebacker group? Probably not. Absolutely not, actually. Is he a special teams guy? Absolutely. That's where this is going. What he brings to Detroit, obviously, is he's quickly able to diagnose plays. He understands gap assignments. He hits them with force. He wraps up cleanly. He's got really good versatility. He can play the Mike or the Will in a 4-3, and then he's also inside on a 3-4. He's a proven four-phase contributor in special teams: kick coverage, punt coverage, kick return, punt return. 38 games, 11 starts, playoff exposure, really good football IQ, trusted by coaches to be in the right spot and execute assignments. Mike Vrabel back in 2022 said, quote, Monty plays fast and physical. He's dependable when we call on him. And the Titans linebacker coach, Bobby King, back in 2023, said, quote, he's got a nose for the football. You trust him to be in the right spot. Now, Rice is the type of depth signing that can pay immediate dividends for Detroit. He can step into defensive snaps without a drop-off in run defense and instantly bolster the Detroit Lions special teams units. He's got a physical style. He's versatile, and his experience is, tough, run-heavy division. In a tough, run-heavy division, aligns well with what the Detroit Lions are trying to do, which is shut the run down. That's your update on Monty Rice. Now, is he going to make the team right now? No. Will he help the team? Absolutely. When called on. If he gets called on. But I think what you notice more, about him is his ability to play in special teams. See, DOD is one of those people. It takes pot shots at women. You must feel like a big man. Yeah? Big man behind keyboard. Well, we don't deal with that stuff. We definitely don't. We're not going to have people, discriminate against women here. That's unneeded. Not necessary. Must be 12 years old, living in his mom's basement. It's 25 now? Come on, grow up, people. Let's be real. Well, I want to bring in Chris Long here. I want to hear what he has to say after the game. Let's see, how long is this?
As we're talking about teams that are really dangerous.
It's about 13 minutes. We probably won't go through all of it. I want to hear the beginning. I respect Chris Long and what he does as an analyst, former football player himself. I think he's got a hell of a podcast, man. He does an excellent job. He's been a big-time supporter of the Detroit Lions, and something switched this year for him. After watching the first game against the Green Bay Packers, he expected the Packers to win the division this year. He said it apparently before the season started. All right, let's bring him in. Man, looks like my camera looks a little washed out today. Give me 1 second to get this thing fixed here. Bears and Lions predictions on a Wednesday. We're going to get into that tonight. Tonight we have gripes and hype. So do me a huge favor. Get all of your questions in. All of your gripes, all of your hype. That's what it's about on a Wednesday night. You guys are going to air it all out, man. What are you most disappointed about? What do you think the Lions need to do better? What does the future hold for the Lions? Whatever it is that you want to talk about, tonight's the night. We'll be taking phone calls tonight. I saw the super chat earlier. I did forget to comment on it, so I want to thank Wick for the $20 donation. He didn't have a message in his donation, so thank you. It's always good to put $20 into the pot. Hey, where'd that other person go? Who was that? Was it DOD earlier that we were talking about? Put a donation into the pot and see where that goes next season. Well, that won't happen now. All right, let's bring him in. Here we go. Don't forget, do us a favor and subscribe to the Detroit Football Journal if you want to follow the Rocks Locks all season. That'll be turned into a video each week, which I haven't done yet for last week, but I will recap it today, and we'll get it out today. It'll also be in writing on the Detroit Football Journal, and you can kind of follow along. Last week, I went 12-4. That's a pretty good week. This week, we'll see what happens. All right, let's go with Mr. Chris Long here on the Chris Long Podcast, Greenlight Podcast.
As we're talking about teams that are really dangerous, I think there are times where I'm an analyst and I say something and I wince before I say it. And when I said, hey, Packers are going to win the North, and they didn't win the North yesterday. This is only 1 week. The playoffs does not start next week. That should contextualize anything we say today.
The North.
But the Packers, to me, watching them play yesterday, I sat there in my chair with a smirk on my face. Because, I fielded some, hey, you got to be able to stop the run, right? Kenny Clark's gone, Mike is not going to really change things. He absolutely changed things. And I think when you're looking at this game, the biggest theme wasn't even Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a feather in their cap, which is why they made the move. I told you it was a declaration that we talk about public declarations in camp.
Yep.
Like trading for Sky Moore is a declaration, right?
Jacorian Bennett.
Trading for Jacorian Bennett is a declaration.
Yeah, it's a sign of what's to come.
Yeah, it's an admission.
Mm-hmm.
This is an admission. Hand up. Yeah, I'm Brian Gutekunst. Hand up. I think we're really fucking good. Guilty as charged.
Yep.
And I am with him because this is a luxury. And I think the biggest thing for me was seeing the swing in physicality in a calendar year, which obviously we're going to talk about the Lions offense. But I think the front was ready. And I don't know if Halfley knew it for some reason this offseason. I don't know if what they saw last year on tape said it. I mean, I watched that second Lions-Packers game at length last week, and I thought, hey, the Packers are right there. I don't know what other people see watching it, but the Packers are right there. They didn't get the ball run up their ass. Kenny Clark made a transition from one front style to the next over the past couple of years. A lot's changed. He's getting older. They ship him out of town, and those guys inside played really well yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's a product of that or it's a product of a reworked interior three, but it wasn't just the interior three. People are going to talk about Glasgow and Mahogany. They're going to talk about Ratledge. You should also be talking about the tackles as well, because I thought man-to-man, all of them, they got their ass kicked. And I thought Lucas Van Ness played his best game as a pro. You said it earlier.
Yeah.
I'm watching film. I said, Nolan, Lucas Van Ness. He goes, I think it was his best game as a pro. He played his ass off, beat Mahogany for a sack. Enigbare played great, and a lot of it was in the run front on head up on Sewell, the big bad wolf. And the same thing with Rashawn Gary, who now is going to get some slide away from him, and he's going to be able to run through people's inside shoulder. You saw him posting up Decker. It was just one of those games where from the beginning I was like, damn. Like, if you're the Packers, you got to feel like everything we thought is confirmed this offseason. Not to mention the Lions are replacing 2 coordinators. You look at the Lions, their front looks human, their offense looks human. Jared Goff's average depth of target, I want to share that with the people at home right now, this looks like
4.2 yards. But yeah, as the chart here will show, he had 39 attempts on the day. Only 8 of them were beyond 5 yards from the line of scrimmage.
And it wasn't all because of pressure all the time.
Right.
When you play the Packers, they're gonna make late pre-snap rotations. They're gonna show you one picture and then give you another. And they're getting better at it. And I think that for Jared Goff, you add the rush to the equation. By the time he gets to his second look, third look, he's got pressure in his face. And even for him, like having the line of scrimmage reset, so to speak, 4 yards deep is a big difference. They set a flat wall in pass protection customarily. They're not doing that anymore, and it's one game, but 24 plays on 1st and 10, 2.69 yards per play compared to nearly 7 last year. Okay, that's fucking wild. Same thing in 2023, nearly 7 yards per play on 1st down, 12 yards on 8 first down carries, 44 yards rushing between the 2 backs. I think I have that right. Yeah. It seems I've read the stat 3 times. I can't believe it. And the stat about them being hit behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah. I don't like firing numbers at you, but these things.
Yeah, it was like mid fourth quarter. It was like 15 of their 21 runs.
I think it ended up 16 of 21 runs. Somebody gets hit in the backfield. Like, that's wild. There was a point backed up on the goal line where they just didn't block a D tackle. Right after they almost gave up a safety in pass pro. So I wouldn't say it's a 5-alarm fire. I think the Packers front's really good too. So I think this is about a concern for Morton and for the offense and for the front, but it's also about the Packers showing up to play. 1 for 4 in the red zone. They were a lot better than that last year.
Back to your depth real fast. After hitting a deep shot to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first quarter, Goff wouldn't attempt another pass of 20-plus air yards until there were 4 minutes left in a 3-score game.
And the Packers are great at putting keeping things in front of you, making you earn it. And there was a lot of that yesterday. The Lions had the ball for like 30 straight minutes. And the Packers get the ball for a second, and they're kicking field goals. And the Packers are like, you know what, we're gonna take the top off the defense with Dobbs. And we haven't even started talking about the offense. I said this before the season. Jordan Love's healthy. He's gonna play better. And Golden didn't need a lot of fucking touches for this offense to look a lot better against a defense in Detroit that's supposed to be a lot better than they were the last time these 2 teams played. And Hutchinson, he's not there yet. Okay, like, it's gonna take time. I think the first 5-6 games of last year before he got hurt was the best possible scenario for him. Like, he had played a lot of guys that weren't really big-time starter type tackles, and he was abusing them. And so we catapult him in the DPOY race. He gets hurt. It's going to take time. So people are going to be, at certain points this year, like, where's Hutch? I think it's going to take time. I think it's going to take time for him and Davenport as well. Davenport's coming off an injury.
A lot of memes going around just talking about Dan Campbell and him being more of a manager, and without great play callers, that it makes him as a whole just look way more normal than usual.
I think it takes time. I think it's going to take time. I'm not saying they're dead in the water. Listen, Kelvin Shepard's never called defense, and all of a sudden he's dealing with LaFleur's script. And this is a team last year that was like first in the league in first half point differential. Quiet as kept. Now, if you're first in the league in point differential and you can run the football and your quarterback's healthy and your defense can rush the passer, enter Micah Parsons. Okay, Micah Parsons is the headliner, but he only played 29 snaps. And I say only because, on a full day's workload, I'd like to see him play 40, 50 snaps, okay? Because there's a lot of situations that he can set you up on early downs. I mean, I talked about the front, the way everybody played better. all the guys inside played really well. Quay Walker played fast. I thought he was noticeably fast. Cooper, playmaker, like now he's clean. And then Evan Williams picked Goff in the same spot as Nixon picked Goff last year. Last year it was the Hank route there, Hank concept, little sit route.
Curl flat. The same fucking thing this year with Evan Williams just reading that top down and taking his candy. So I thought Micah was up and under, twitchy, early. Like Sewell is a premier tackling league. Don't get it twisted. But I said this in my thing last night. Sometimes I don't want to sound disrespectful, even though I'm complimenting somebody. I think he's somewhere in the top 3 to 4 tackles in the league. I think he's top 3 probably. But there is a delta in pass protection between him and a guy like Lane Johnson. So now as there's things like Protector of the Year, I don't want PFF grades thrown at me. Watch the tape and tell me who's the better pass protector, because I didn't see Micah beat Lane like that multiple times in a game, and it was right off the bat. And so I just that's going to be a tough matchup for them. He's so twitched up. They were inside. They lined him up in an A. They lined him up in a 3-tech. They ran like what we call like a nut stunt. Pause. Nut stunt, right? You remember that? So the nose is going to pick for. Yeah, you like that stunt. You like that.
Love a nut.
Did you see Micah? Did you see Micah cross face like that, dude? It was like you can line him up anywhere. He's a chess piece.
Yeah.
And the sack for me, it encapsulates what he does when he's not forcing interceptions or, sacking the quarterback with just a clean win. He's going to run you down. He's one of the best finishers in the NFL. I liken him to a lion running down a gazelle. Mm-hmm. I liken him to, it's some Discovery Channel shit watching him. And when he dragged Jared Goff down, the top went off the place, and I'm paying attention to the sideline. I'm paying attention to his teammates. I'm listening to the crowd. They are so happy to have him there. And it's got to feel good for him because his owner in Dallas said, we don't need you. We're going to focus on stopping the run. And I think fans also eventually soured on Micah in Dallas. And for those of you who did, this is what you're missing. And you can find some bodies inside to stop the run, but you're not going to be able to find another one of those guys with ease. Nope. And on the sideline, dude, guys are like this. They got their hands raised in the air. Yeah. They're hyped. They're pointing at Micah. It felt like everything the Packers wanted was realized yesterday. It's just 1 week, but they're a really good fucking football team.
Speaking of just 1 week, there's a few stats going around about Goff, and I want to read one for you.
Yeah, hit me.
Just see how you feel about it. Goff is 3-18-1 without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay calling the plays. Are you overreacting about that, or are you trying to read? Are you calling about it? Goff is 3-18-1 without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay calling the plays. Are you overreacting about that, or are you trying to read more into that?
I want to give him a chance. He's made a lot of plays in the NFL.
Yeah, wait till like week 4 or 5.
Yeah,
I mean, this new Lions team obviously is a tough loss to a division rival. Everything like that. They did not look very sharp. Let's give them a couple weeks to settle in and see what we're getting here. That's kind of what I'm thinking there, Facts.
I think the Lions are still a playoff team for sure. We're not
Yeah,
and I think Lions fans won't want to hear anything less than they can still compete for the division, and sure they can. But the Packers are kind of a wagon.
Yeah.
Like you look at their roster, they are big and physical. I told you when we went to camp last year and went to Eagles camp and then went to some other camps, I was like, damn, the Eagles are really built different. Like they're just massive. The Packers are big too. They are big and physical. And I think they found something with Hafley. They got one of the best play callers in the game offensively. And there are people, there's a reason dudes on ESPN who take their job seriously are answering questions like, whose league is it in 5 years? And the answer is Jordan Love. Like, there are reasons people believe that. It might not be everybody brave enough to say it, and I'm not willing to stick my nuts on the table yet and say exactly that, but I think he's a franchise quarterback, and I think his best football is ahead of him. I think last year wasn't very good.
Yeah.
He was hurt. So,
Yeah, and you got Chris, Nate, Bo, you guys know better than anybody. You don't want to overreact to week one. You know the ebbs and flows of a long season.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
I don't know why when I come back that my mic gets muted every time. But here's what I'm going to say. Everything that I just said. Perfect. What Chris Long just stated. In the way that he delivered it. Perfect. His football knowledge is so deep. And the way that he discusses this game through fact, through opinion, through stats, analysis. This is what it's supposed to be like. That was a very accurate way to deliver what happened without emotion. Without emotion. And I thought he did an excellent job. So now I want to break it down a little bit. I want to break it down. Make sure you guys fast forward. We should have audio just fine now. Here's what he said. Packers didn't win because of Parsons. I can't even tell you how many Lions fans that want edge rushers came to the conclusion that the Packers just won because of Parsons. And immediately after the game, this is what you heard. Right? Everywhere. It's what you saw on Twitter. Everywhere. Parsons just killed the Lions. It was all Parsons. No, it wasn't. Not even close. What was it? 26 snaps, I think it was a final count that we came to conclusion yesterday. And it was like maybe 5 or 3 in the first half. They saved him to the last half of the game. Chris Long, former defensive player, just told you it was not Micah Parsons. Right? And I know that from the tape. He had one cheap sack with Jared Goff running to the sideline. That didn't affect the play. The play was dead. Didn't affect the game. The play was dead. Okay. He thinks that the Packers are really good, calls them a wagon multiple times. He said that they went around to different training camps and that the Eagles are built different. They're just big, massive. The Packers are built different. They're also big, massive. It's week 1. And they reemphasize that a few times. It's just week 1. They looked really good. They looked really prepared. They looked well coached. They didn't have the distractions that the Lions just went through either. I think, let me be careful how I say this. I don't know why the Lions had a couple of days off before the game. Like, is that normal? I honestly don't know the question or the answer because I've never thought about it before. I've never looked. I've never inquired. Do all of the other NFL teams give all of their players 2 or 3 days off, whatever it was, before the opening game? Do they really do that? I don't know. But I can't make a definitive statement yes or no. I want to know. Because if we find out that that's not normal, why would you do that? Knowing that your team has just gone through a major transformation. And you also canceled another week of practice, right? Did they cancel a whole week because of the Hall of Fame game? Again, why? Utilize every practice that you're allowed to have. If you need to give some vets the day off, do that. But you can still have half the team in there. You could transition to, video day like we do here when we're exhausted. We go to video day. Like today's kind of one of those days, man. I'm just not feeling great. But we still try to give you, some really good content at the same time. The physicality from the Packers, the change in physicality that Chris Long speaks to here is evident. They played far different in this game. But I have to say that the Packers have always played us tough. And if there's been a team, if you go back to a couple years ago on Thanksgiving, Sewell and Decker got their asses kicked bad on Thanksgiving. Last year, we were able to win a couple of games that were, those are close games. The Packers play tough. It is a different breed of football up there for them. The Lions also play tough. We didn't look tough on Sunday. At all. We did not look tough. We did not manhandle anybody. They better flip the damn switch today. Or they should have flipped it, hopefully, on Monday. They need to get nasty. Like, if it were me, I'd be playing 1980s, ESPN or, Sports Illustrated, videos for these guys of all the nastiest hits in the NFL. That's what I would be playing for the last 3 days off. There wouldn't be no days off. I would force them to watch those videos over and over and over and over. This is how you're going to play on Sunday. Go take somebody's head off. Forget the flag. Be smart, right? Don't do it before the play gets there or before the ball gets there. But when the ball gets there, take their head off. Play nasty. Play vicious. Play football. The Lions looked over-muscled on Sunday. And I hope that they're not getting soft already. They looked out-muscled on Sunday. Yeah, bite them kneecaps, says Elaine. I like it. We need to go back to that. Exactly right. It wasn't just the interior that Chris Long says. It was also the tackles. Hey, by the way, I know some. I'm just calling my shot real quick. Sorry. Some of you guys said I was crazy. Crazy talk about Penei Sewell and his pass protection. Well, that's crazy. Penei Sewell's the best tackle in the game. Penei Sewell doesn't suck in pass pro. Chris Long just validated it for me. His pass protection is not good. You can be the best run blocker, great. But what do the Lions like to do? Play action. Penei Sewell has been getting outgamed, out-hustled, outplayed. And I don't know why. He's athletic. He's strong. He's smart. He moves well. Why is he getting out-hustled and out-muscled? This has been a trend for Penei Sewell over the last few seasons. We have to match the energy. Have to match the energy. If Penei Sewell's struggling in pass pro, you have to put somebody on that side. It's so easy to me, but at the same time, it is so difficult because I don't know 1/10 of what these coordinators and coaches know. Not even close to that. Right? They're operating at a much different level. I've been away from the game for too long, but we understand the game at a pretty high level here too. Nowhere near where I want to be. But where I'm going with this is I think it's easy to understand that if Penei Sewell's struggling in pass pro and you're trying to deliver a football, you need to put that chip on his side. Right? You need to put your tight end in motion. You need to, provide a little, either a wham block, whether you're getting a ton of interior pressure or pressure between Tate Ratledge and Sewell, or you need to get him all the way on the outside and chip the outside edge. Or you need to have David Montgomery or somebody else in the game that can pick up the blitz, pick up the rusher. Sometimes you just can't have 5 weapons out there trying to catch a football. Maybe you only have 3. Sometimes you have to stack the deck a little bit on the offensive line to make sure that you can even get the ball off. If the Lions can't beat defensive backs with just 3 receivers out of the 3 that we have that are really good, then we have much bigger problems. But Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams should be enough on any given play. You've got to start stacking that offensive line. Maybe you need to bring in another offensive lineman. Maybe you need to start bringing in, Manu and have him go in motion and come down and crack that tight end. Or crack on the edge. Something. You got to do something. Penei Sewell's pass rushes, I think, is past the point of improvement. This is a scheme thing now. His pass rush has been, his pass pro has been the same. It's now a scheme thing. You have to dial it up so that he can have what he needs. Now, not every game's going to be the same, right? You're going to go up against inferior defensive lines, and he'll do just fine. But in games like this, where you're going up against some elite guys on the other side, you need to give him more. Stop putting him in a position that he's going to lose from. Jared Goff has been one of the best at delivering the football under 2.6 seconds. He couldn't even do that in this game because nobody was open. So again, where was the in-game changes, right? Where were you going to make some adjustments? That has to change this week, everybody. It has to. And no, it's not about Ben Johnson. I saw a message somewhere in the chat that, and I don't call people out, that this was because we were missing Ben Johnson. That's not the issue here for me. The issue here for me is too much change. Hold on, I just got a message real quick I got to respond to. I'll stay on for a few more. Someone wanted to call in. I was not going to do phone lines today because I was struggling with it the other day, but let me see if I can get this working here. You got to give me a few minutes. Let me finish my thought on this, and then we'll try to do that. The other thing that I wanted to mention about what Chris Long was saying, too, is, how he was reviewing the fact that the depth of target was only 4.2 yards, and how Jared Goff threw, like 90% of his pass plays were under 6 yards in this game. Where he was attempting to throw the ball, was under 6 yards. I reviewed all of that right after the game. These guys are doing this 2-3 days later. So it's validating that we're seeing the same things immediately, not only in game, but post game. And so if you haven't been into our post game show, this next post game show is it'll be a lot better, but the problem is I'll be coming from the game. I won't be able to be in the chair. So the better post game show will be the next day when I'm able to review everything. But that's why I've given these guys, some new sheets that they'll be able to really dig deep. Like Riley, if he's doing the post-game show this week, he'll be able to have everything available for us to pull up as needed. But we're seeing all of these things in-game. So we can talk to you about it post-game and deliver the same information that well-respected analysts, are giving to you 2, 3, 4 days later. You'll have that information right now. So join us for some post games this season. All right, the most glaring stat. This has been flying around. I've seen someone report Jared Goff is 0-19-1 without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay, and then Chris Long says 3-18-1. Okay, there's a stark difference here, and that's because in 2021. The Lions went 3-10-1. So those 3 wins came without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay. So there's your 3 wins. The reason why this stat is so misleading, it's actually very simple if you think about it. And I think that's why Chris Long maybe was struggling with this a little bit. One, they want to see things kind of play out. But 2, let's talk about this from a realistic perspective. In 2016, Jared Goff had 7 losses without Sean McVay in LA. That was Fisher's team. So there's 7 losses right there. But why were those losses? Fisher threw Jared Goff to the wolves. In the last 7 games of the season, as a rookie, no offensive line, no receivers, everybody was hurt. Everybody was hurt on the LA team. That offense was decimated. The season was lost. It was done. They couldn't make the playoffs. And so he threw his rookie in there to go get some snaps. They lost every game. But they were not expected to win any of the games anyway. You absolutely were going to continue to tank to make sure that you could get the better picks. I'm not saying that they do that. I'm just saying that they probably do that. You're not going to call a perfect game for these guys to put them in a good situation to win. So there's 7 losses right there. So let's back that down to 3-11-1 without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay. In the first year of Sean McVay in 2017, he went 11-4, then 13-3, 9-7, 9-6, and then in 2021 with the Detroit Lions. Well, they didn't have a win through the first 6 weeks? We were 0-6. I think we finally got a win. God, I don't remember. When did we get our first win in 2021? Does anyone remember off the top of your head? I don't. I got to look it up. Okay. Regular season. 2021 is what I want. Oh, yeah, 0-10. I thought it was 10 losses. I think you're right on there, Todd. I think you're right on. But didn't we tie with Pittsburgh earlier? Weren't we 0-8-1 or something like that? Lions began their season 0-8 before tying with Pittsburgh in week 10. We must have had a bye week before that. So either way, it's somewhere between 8 and 10 losses that the Lions had under Dan Campbell. No, I'm sorry, under Anthony Lynn. So looking at 2021, you go 3-10-1. So I don't know where they're getting this record from. 3-18-1. 7 of those losses came in 2016. Okay, so then 11 losses. The Lions were only 3-10-1. So if you have 10 losses in 21 and 7 in 2016, that's 3-17-1. So the figure's even wrong. And then the next year, in 2022, Ben Johnson was not calling plays from week 1. At least that's the big rumor. I don't know if Dan Campbell's ever come out and said, yeah, I called the first 6 weeks. But the way that it was explained is that, or assumed, is that in 2022, that Ben Johnson didn't really fully get integrated into the offense until about halfway through the year. So this is not an alarming stat to me. Right? When 7 of those losses came in his rookie year, and the rest came with Anthony Lynn in 2021, which the Lions, again, what did they have? Nobody. Everybody was injured before week 1 in the wide receiver room. And then as the first 6 or 7 weeks went on, everybody else got injured. And then it was Amon-Ra St. Brown was the last line of defense for the Lions wide receiver room. And then he finally started to turn it on, what was it, week 10? Week 10 or 11, something like that. He finally started to make a few plays. So those numbers to happen in both rookie seasons, one in LA and one in Detroit, miss me with that shit, man. Come on. Get real. This is why I so vehemently can't stand media narratives, man. And I'm not saying that Chris Long is responsible. He's not responsible for that. I can't stand it. I absolutely can't stand it. Then the Lions go 1-6 to start 2022. Okay, well, there was multiple losses with Ben Johnson if he was the one calling plays. So what about that year? I don't know. It's garbage, man. It's garbage. We'll finish with, let me try to get the caller in, number 1, and the nut stunts I thought was just an hilarious take. I don't even know what a nut stunt is. I've never heard of it. I'm gonna dig into that today, what a nut stunt is on the defensive line. I think that's hilarious. Whatever that is. For some reason, man, men, boys, whatever it is, they are infatuated with their bat wings. I don't get it. W's are the only stat that should matter, says what was that? Woobybot? Wabot? Woobybot? He's not really a bot, though. Or maybe he is. I don't know. It's not my bot. My bot should be sleeping. I turned his ass off. He was doing too much. All right, let me see if I can get a caller in. Let's see here. We did this the other day, and we struggled with it. And I tried working on it, and then when I came on Monday, all you guys heard was echo from me without even having a caller in. But I'm going to try to do it this way. Let me see if this works. We'll see if it works. No guarantees. I do have a brand new phone. We got the second phone line today or yesterday. Started getting it set up. We're just waiting for the new number to port over. They said it could take up to 10 days. And once that's done, we should be good to go. Then the number's going to change to 313 podcast. And I'll let you know when we get the change. All right, bees. I think you're still in, right? Or Robbie Ones, I'm sorry. If you're still in and you want to call in, go ahead. You can do it now. We should be able to make this happen. All right, Robbie Ones, you should be with us. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let me just make sure everybody out in the audience can hear you. Give me about 10 seconds, okay?
Yes, sir.
Sounds like we're good. Okay.
Okay.
All right, what do you got, man? Sounds like we're
I had
good.
an epiphany.
Okay.
I had an epiphany today because
Sorry, good. Start over, man. I accidentally I forgot my phone was connected. Go ahead.
I had an epiphany today because people kept bringing up the Packers game and how they put the work in and they beat us, right? And the epiphany here was in that game, we literally ran the same schematic offense that we have been running for the last 2 years. So yeah, they beat us. They knew what we were going to do, how we were going to attack them, and they played their game and they stopped it. We didn't deviate from the plan whatsoever. We just kept going back to the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. Why? Because it's worked for us for the last 2 years. 2 years ago, we went 12-5, doing the same thing. Last year, we went 15-2, doing the same thing. Johnny Morton said, if it's not broken, I ain't going to fix it. The problem with it is the personnel up front changed. More specifically, the three key pieces in the middle. We're missing Ragnow. Glasgow didn't really play a whole lot last year because we had Kevin Zeitler. Plus, Glasgow was on the wrong side. Sorry, he did play. He was on the wrong side. He was playing left guard, not right guard, which is where he normally plays. Now you got him in the middle. His job has changed. You got Mahogany, who played on the left. He played a little on the right. He's still a young player, getting his legs under him. And then we put in a rookie, Tate Ratledge, who's, although the man is capable, the mental mistakes we're building up in that game due to the lack of experience and the lack of familiarity with how we ran our run blocking schemes.
So
Ben Johnson ran a lot of zone blocking. We ran a lot of zone blocking, especially with our guards.
Mm-hmm.
And the young O-linemen just weren't picking it up and getting to where they need to be and finding their man. And we were getting bottlenecked in the middle of the O-line.
So let me ask you this.
The root concepts.
One second, Bees. Let me ask you this. Which I agree with all of that, right? I agree that, you've got a young, which, I mean, you can consider Mahogany a rookie. 75 snaps or whatever it was last season. It's not enough to carry over to this year. He was one of the highest graded offensive linemen for the Lions last year, but 75 snaps it's not a good enough litmus test, right? And you also put him in opportunities with Frank Ragnow that can get him in the right position to make him feel more comfortable about what the play is going to be. He's gone. To your point, Glasgow's in. He's been musical chairs offensive lineman since he's been with us. He's played left guard, right guard, and center in 3 seasons now, all different positions every year to start the year. And the biggest factor is Frank Ragnow. He absolutely is the biggest factor. And what we noticed this past Sunday is multiple times your young guys, Tate Ratledge, totally missed on covering the guy that was lined up over the center of the offense, crashes to the right to pick up a double team. Glasgow goes left to pick up a double team. And then you got this guy staring at Montgomery in the middle like, I didn't expect to be here right now. And so, yeah, there was some huge missed assignments, like Dan Campbell said. And then it was, to your point, the zone blocking scheme. The zone blocking scheme is hard. It's not easy.
It is.
It
You're
is
asking
very hard.
Young players, especially the 3 in the middle, you're asking young, inexperienced players to pick up an assignment that they're not. They have no reflexes to do. Yes, they did it in training camp, but this is a real live NFL game. You got real grown men rushing to crush your running back and quarterback to stop your offense.
So with that point, let me add something to that. And I don't know if you were going to say this, but let me throw this at you. The reason why I feel it is so important to get these guys live game reps, not just joint practice, is because you've done everything now against your own team in practice. And so now when you get into the live game, it's your muscle memory, which is a great word that you just use. Your muscle memory knows, well, I know what Tyleek's going to do. I know what DJ Reader's going to do. I know what Jack Campbell's going to do. But your muscle memory is telling you what's going to happen there. Well, this isn't those guys. This is Rashawn Gary. This is Micah Parsons. It's a different set of guys, and their muscle memory is different. How they react, how they twitch, where they hit the hole, how they hit the hole, what gap they go in, and how quickly they get there. And so when you have to develop something throughout practice called the Hutch rule, well, you also know that, okay, we're just going to let Hutch go. It's not a big deal. And how much, how many times do you allow that to happen? Does that ruin somebody's muscle memory? Because you're just letting them go.
Well, not only that, but you brought up a great point there as well, that in practice, these guys are playing half-hearted. They don't want to injure themselves, but more importantly, they don't want to injure any of their teammates.
Right.
When you're in a game, these guys are playing with the heart of a lion. Like, these are grown-ass men trying to do whatever they can to get through you to get to the guys behind you. So you playing in a practice and playing in a real game, like, it's a completely different scenario. You have to give it all, and I'm sure these guys were giving it all, but they didn't have the experience and the knowledge or the muscle memory, the reflexes to be where they had to be on time in order for the zone run blocks to be picked up and for the running backs to find the hole.
Absolutely.
I believe Jahmyr Gibbs is the brightest running back in the league and has the best future set ahead of him. However, with an inexperienced O-line in front of you, you have a power back who is healthy. This isn't the power back we saw in the wild card or in the division round last year. David Montgomery is healthy. Put that man on the field, because that man is going to create a hole. That is why he was brought to Detroit. We've seen him in Chicago with a terrible O-line year after year. Create holes, make plays, get downfield. Yes, he is not gonna race down the field and score a 75, 55-yard TD. That is not his game. His game is to break the D-line, run over a linebacker, and get you between 3 to 7 yards. That is David Montgomery's game. Anything after that is gravy.
I would agree. So let me ask you this: do you think that? I mean, do you think that these guys are going to be able to grow and mature within the zone runnings concept that is so difficult to learn as it is? Do you think that they're okay? And how long do you expect it?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road. I bet you right now, Dan Campbell and Frazier, our O-line coach, is probably chewing the ass out of Graham Glasgow and Tate Radlich and Christian Mahogany. And I think Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker is going to be there with a tissue box to help them dry their eyes after they get their ass chewed out after the performance they just put on. And these guys are going to rally together and build that continuity, build that chemistry, and they're going to put on a better performance in Chicago. However, Chicago has Montez Sweat you got to worry about. They got Dexter. So Chicago's defensive line isn't a joke either. Like, let's face it, Chicago had a really good defense last year. It's their offense that couldn't produce.
Chicago has a scary defense. So, they really do. Gervon Dexter.
They do.
When I watched him coming out of college, I know I did some videos about him. I talked about him highly. I think that was 2023. Now, he ended up slipping. I expected him to rise a little bit. He did rise in the draft, but he also slipped in the draft. And he's someone that can create nightmares. You go back and watch his Florida tape. Oh, my God, it is so good. The strength that he used. I mean, he was a man amongst boys in college. And you give him now a couple of years in an NFL, gym and with all of the right food and everything else. Like, this guy's only getting better. Gervon Dexter is going to be a nightmare for the Lions for the next 3-4 years.
And let's not forget about Sweat. He had a down year last year. He didn't play up to his expectations. Now, not to throw Minnesota under the bus, Minnesota's got a great pair of tackles there. Devontae Sweat basically had his way with that O-line. Whoever he was lined up in front of, he was wreaking havoc. Finally, they started chipping at him and slowing him down, and then Minnesota was able to run the ball a bit at the end of the game and clutch the win. But Minnesota's got great tackles, and Vontaze Sweat was a pain in their ass. We have great tackles. Our interior O-line, until they get their shit together, they are, excuse my French, they are what they are. They have to go out there and prove that they're better than what they're showing us.
So let me ask you this. The Lions are
we need to...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
I think we need to abandon the zone running scheme that has worked for us, and Dan has implemented with Frazier. I think we need to just worry about the guys blocking the guy in front of them. Passing plays, you got to have David Montgomery back there so that he can help chip whoever's pulling a stunt or a linebacker blitzing or a safety coming off of the edge or a corner. You need David Montgomery back there. You want Jahmyr Gibbs on the field, you got to put him out in the wing. You have to put him out on the wing.
You know, Dan Campbell said after the game that he thinks he maybe had too much on the plate for these guys, and I just don't understand that as a coach. Like, you're going into week one, it should be the exact opposite. You should have less, into the game. Call your bread and butters, right? I mean, focus on the things that you do well. And I think that what to your point right now is you dial it back a little bit. You do what works well, and you kind of get through the progressions of your playbook that day against the Bears, and whatever's working well, you try to stick with it, and then you throw in a couple of wrinkles as you can. But to go out there and just try to throw the kitchen sink at these guys it's the wrong way to do it. These guys are drinking from a fire hose right now as rookies. It's hard enough to be a rookie, than to go out there on a Sunday and try to, play well within a scheme that is a very difficult scheme to operate from the beginning anyway.
Well, to Dan to Dan Campbell's credit and Johnny Morton's credit, they both were firm on the fact that it wasn't broken, they ain't going to fix it. Well, they just showed that their scheme that they've been so successful and basically a powerhouse running in the NFL is broken because the continuity of the interior O-line are too young and too green to run that type of offense.
Yeah.
They need to grow together. They need to work off each other, and they have to keep the O-line blocking assignment simple. If the defense tries to come at you crazy, throw you a left wing, you got to roll with it with a running back. You got to roll with it with a tight end coming across the chip. You brought up a great point. Sticking an extra offensive lineman out there, have him pull across the line just in case someone's trying to do something funny. Let him get a crack at him, a clean crack at him. I promise you that guy is not going to come across weird again. If you got Manu barreling down the back end of the O-line and he gets a free shot at an edge rusher or a blitzing safety, they don't want that contact.
Right. All right, so this weekend,
do not want that contact. They're going to second guess that shit.
So this weekend, Raw, the Lions taking on the Bears, currently a 5.5 point favorite. Do you give me your quick take on? Do you think the Lions belong to be a favorite, and do you think that the game is going to go that way? Do you think it's going to be a lot tougher than I guess what these analysts are thinking it's going to be? I don't believe in the favorite right now. I'll be honest. I do not believe that we are a 5.5 point favorite at all.
Well, Wickster, I believe it was Wickster. It may have been Jay Cruz, and brought up an excellent point, which triggered my mental process. And he said week 1 is basically preseason for the starters who didn't play in preseason.
Yep.
And he's absolutely correct. So with that, these guys got a game under their belt. They understand the speed of the league, and playing against grown-ass men who are full-grown, mature men coming at them with the heart of a lion, they're going to pick up the pace a bit. They're going to get into their groove, and I think we're going to bear down, and we're going to take care of our business. I think the Lions are – the defense is going to cause us a little bit of issues. I think the Bears have a very good defense. Caleb Williams is going to be Caleb Williams. We're going to give him a new nickname, Pick Six Williams. And I think he's going to throw quite a few of them in this game. And I think our offense is going to have roughly between 250 and 300 yards, but that's going to be all that's needed to put this game away early. And we're going to walk away with a win.
So do you think that we're 5.5 point favorite though? I mean, do you think that we deserve that after what we just shown?
I think that's low. I don't think we deserve to be that, but I think we're going to prove that it should have been higher.
Okay. Well, I like where your head's at least. I feel a lot of the same ways that you do. A lot of this stuff is correctable, and I would say to anybody that the offensive line can be one of the most correctable issues, especially when it's missed assignments and miscommunications. I think what happened on Sunday to a large degree is you are in, you're in foreign territory, you're in a loud stadium, and you've got all the variables of new offense, new offensive coordinator, rookies on the offensive line. There's a lot of variables here that you couldn't afford for that many to go wrong. This weekend, we're at home. We're going to be in a quiet setting on offense. They're going to be able to think. They're going to be able to reset themselves if they're not in the right alignment, in the beginning. And I think it's going to go a lot better for them. I do think that we're going to have some times throughout this game that we're going to be like, oh, wow, that looked terrible, or man, that could have been better. But I do think that we're going to get things back together this week. And it may not be pretty the entire time. Like we've seen, the Seattle Seahawks game last year was the prettiest game that I've ever watched in my entire life, man. But it's not going to be that easy this weekend against the Bears. Raw, appreciate you calling in, man. Don't be a stranger.
Well, Love your show, Ben. Have a good night.
Appreciate you, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, that was Raw. That'll be the only call I'm going to take today. It is 10:30. We will be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Maybe Riley will be on tomorrow. I'm not sure. But Eric's going to be off until next week. He's traveling through Denver right now. But don't forget, man, every Monday through Friday starting at 8 a.m., we'll be right here talking to Detroit Lions. And tomorrow is when I'm going to get into the crux of the Bears. I wanted to do some of that today. It's just wasn't going to happen. Tonight, Gripes and Hype. Make sure you email mailbag@rockdown.com. You can also text. So if you don't want to email, you just email the current phone number, 313-312-0348. You can text that number with your questions, your statements, anything you want to talk about on the show. And then you can also email mailbag@rockdown.com and get your gripes and your hype in. Anything that you want to talk about, man, it's okay. And then, of course, the phone lines will be open tonight now that we've got it working somewhat, I think, well. Just do me a favor, wait for the first caller to get off, and then you can call in. I do have the feature now that I can put calls on hold. I just need to practice that on my side so that I know how it works so I don't fumble the football. So you guys take care and have a good Wednesday, man. It's on to the Bears on Sunday. We'll find out soon enough if the Lions can get it back together. It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
Pressured by